My name is Adrian Nantchev, and this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So today, I'm with Charlin on the latest episode of the podcast. So please, Charlin, tell the audience who you are, what you're doing, what you believe in, and what difference you want to make in the world.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Charlin Janene. I am a visual artist. I have been since I was a toddler. I'm self-taught with pretty much everything. I self-taught myself how to read and write, self-taught how to be a photographer, how to be a portrait artist, how to do marketing online, like social media marketing for different brands. And I intend to make my mark by just leaving my signature. Even as a young age, I remember my dad used to get on me about signing my work. It was something that I never really thought about. I would just crank out piece after piece after piece, not even thinking about it. Since I started as a child and I sold my first piece at 12 years old, I was like, whatever. I mean, I'm getting money. I'm getting my art out there, but I wasn't really thinking that I needed to put my signature on it so people could, look for me later or see other work. But he worked as a journalist for 25 years, which was the majority of my life. Because he had even told me when I was born, probably 6 months or so after I was born, he was working at a newspaper, and he went to work the next day and it was closed. So he was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I have a newborn and a wife that I have to take care of. No money, no job. So then he had to figure out new ways to get another position. And that pretty much taught me how to, I guess, be gritty, get down to what I need to get down to, get things done. Even if something doesn't seem like it's working out the way you want it to work out, even if things fail, you still have to get out there and figure out a way to get around that obstacle and make it happen. And when I was little, he worked at the Palm Beach Post in South Florida. And then we moved to Ohio, and he worked at the Plain Dealer. So he was in the paper for 25 years. And throughout all that time, he would just pound on me to make sure that you sign your work. Because he was signing his work in the newspapers and stuff, like any column or anything that he had to do, he signed his work. So it was just natural for him to tell me that that's what I need to do. Since I was pretty much following in his footsteps, because my mother is not an artist. She is not like talented in any kind of way. So I got that from him, and he just wanted to protect me pretty much. And from then on, I have been signing my name, and I've changed my signature a few times, and I've gone to digital versus just signing on paper. I figured out how to do it digitally. So I have a digital signature now and just a regular portrait. I have different signatures for pretty much everything. Portraits, for paintings, for my digital work. So that is pretty much it when it comes to the artwork. And then the other part of what's going on is my husband is a veteran. We've been married for 10 years last month. Or no, not last month now, because it's August. In June, we came up on our 10th anniversary. He was a Marine first, and then he enlisted in the Army right before we got married. So I was an Army wife for 9 years. That was an experience. First time for me, because he was in the military before that, so he knew what to expect and how to deal with it. But there was no crash course for me. There was no introduction about how to handle things, how to do this life pretty much. So I just had to figure it out. I was 21 years old, so super young, first time leaving my family, first time leaving my hometown, first time living with a man in general. So it was all brand new, and I just had to navigate myself. And pretty much what kept me grounded was my artwork. I was able to stay busy even when I wasn't able to find like a regular job or start school. So I always had this thing that I could count on or lean on when I had other problems in life. So it has saved me in more than one way.
So you'd say that the artwork was like almost like a, I'm not sure what the word is, like an anchor, keeping you happy,
Yes.
keeping you like an escape. Yeah, escapism.
Pretty much.
In what way?
Well, over the last 10 years, I would say, just to keep me afloat from the chaos of the military.
Uh-huh.
Because we had been through like so much, not just from the military, because I'm not sure if you know anyone or have heard any stories, but the military is first. Regardless if you have a spouse, which is now your family. So I was his only family at that point. But the military comes first. Usually when you get married in the civilian world, it's you get married to this person and they are your number one. They come first before your job, before anything else that you have going on, any hobbies, anything. But with the military, the Army came first. He tried to like make it seem like I was number one or whatever, but eventually I figured out that I am number two. Not because he chose that I'm number two, because he chose me as his wife and he wanted me to be number one. It's because of the way the military is. Their job requires them to be on call 24/7. So if he goes into work at 5 a.m., which he normally did, and he gets off at 4:30 or 5:30 or whatever, they can still call him in when he's at home with me. And they did many, many times, and it was annoying. And sometimes I hung up on them and did other things like, we're at home, this is our time, you've had him all day. So I would just get kind of like pissed off, like you guys are just all over, you're everywhere. You're in our space. We don't have any privacy. There's no private time. There's none of that for 9 years. So eventually I just got tired of it, probably after year 5. And I just said, you know what? I am talented. I have things to offer to the world. So I'm going to go ahead and make it known who I am and try to get my name out there. So I decided to start taking on like clients all over the country because we were in Colorado Springs at the time. So I was far away from home, trying to hustle up and figure out a way to make money and to get new clients. So I started a Facebook page, which eventually I deleted because I wasn't posting regularly. And that's when I started going to school and I had a job, a regular job. So I deleted it. Because it's like, people are following me and I'm not posting, so I'm just going to delete it. But yeah, art has been something that I have always been able to fall back on because it's never going away. It's something that I was born with, something that I was meant to do. So regardless of what's going on in my life, I can always go back to that. And if I need to be grounded, it does that. If I need something else to do, like a hobby or something to occupy my time, like when he was deployed or on training or whatever, and I needed something to keep my mind off of worrying about him, that's what I would go to.
You also mentioned before the show that he sent you a Nikon camera while
Yes.
while he was away.
Yeah, he was away in 2010 for a year. He was in Kuwait. A permanent station that I couldn't go because there are certain places where they go like overseas that I just can't go. Like if they go to Afghanistan or Iraq or anywhere in the Middle East, I can't go because it was still a heavy war zone area. So I just had to stay behind. So we had to decide if I was going to stay in Colorado Springs where we were, or go back home where my family is in Akron, Ohio. So we decided that I was going to go back to Akron for the entire year because I had been gone for 3 years and I was only 24 years old still. I was still super young. So I was like, well, I'm not going to stay in Colorado Springs because I have a few friends from work and from school, but they're not like friends. They're not classmates that I grew up with. They're not family that I grew up with. And I just don't have that same support. So we decided that I would go home. So we found a place, an apartment that I stayed in for the year. And then he shipped over to Kuwait. And this is not something that we talked about, but he just decided, I guess because he had extra money, to purchase a camera. Probably because he noticed my talents and what I was into. Maybe I had mentioned getting a camera once. I don't even remember that, but he decided to buy one and had it shipped to my apartment in Ohio. And then I got it one day and I'm like, well, what is this? Why did you send me a camera? And he pretty much just said, well, it just seems like we should have one because we didn't have one before. He had the extra money, so he went ahead and just splurged and got it and figured that I would be the one to figure it out. So he sent it to me. But I didn't actually touch it. I didn't actually touch it until maybe a year after because I was with my family and I just wasn't trying to work. I wasn't trying to do any artwork at all. I just wanted to spend that year on family, spend as much time as I could with cousins, uncles, aunts, my siblings, my parents, grandparents, especially. So I just left it in the box pretty much. I didn't actually use it until the next year when we moved to Fort Bragg. And then I actually picked it up and started going downtown and started going to different parks and experimented with it to see how it worked and figure it out. And then I kind of put it down again a few years later to focus on other things. And then I had surgery. So there was always something to sidetrack me. And then I didn't actually pick it up again, like seriously, until maybe a year ago. And started doing all these photo sessions with people in my neighborhood. So, yeah.
And what else did you do with the camera? Because you also mentioned portraits and weddings.
Yes.
And you did one of those in July. So you went more or less freelance photographer then?
Yes. July was... Actually, June was more of a busy month for me. July was more of the wedding because I had a neighbor contact me about doing a wedding because I had posted in a neighborhood, like a marketplace page that we have. And I posted like an ad for what I do. So I was just putting prices down, I guess, and when I'm available type of thing, what I do. So I sent like some example photos of newborn shoots and stuff that I had done the previous month. And then I received a message from a couple, a lesbian couple actually, saying that they were looking for a photographer to do their wedding. And apparently they had spoken to other photographers, but being in the South, in North Carolina, there's still people who have a problem with doing gay weddings. So I wasn't thinking that I was going to be the one to be hired because there was like a week in between of me hearing from them asking me to do it and then them confirming that they wanted me to do their wedding. So I kind of just put it in the back of my mind and was like, whatever, they chose somebody else. Not really thinking that they were just trying to get details together. So then I booked it and we went to Fort Fisher, which is near Wilmington. and spent a few hours there. And it was a fun day. First wedding, it was a beach wedding, so that was fun. I was able to meet their family and friends and get a feel for how weddings work, pretty much, other than the wedding that I participated in, my own wedding. So, I mean, it was fun. I would like to do it again. And before that, I was just doing like newborn sessions with one of my neighbors. They had just had a baby. The first session, they had me come over when she was 1 week. So she was super little. But we were able to get that done, and it was fun. And after that, I started doing like headshots. I did headshots for a pageant participant, and that was interesting. I did a few like family sessions for Father's Day and stuff like that. And that was pretty much all of June. So I was pretty busy this summer, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. So we'll see.
So what could you tell me about being a photographer then? Because I know a little bit about the basics of photography. You know, when we talk about the white balance or the composition or the rule of three, the Fibonacci spiral. I even remember a strange concept called a cat's bum.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about the nuances of photography? Because some would say that it's just a bit of a cop out. You know, if it's not, it doesn't compare to a painting. But also at the same time, some would say photography is a heck of a lot faster. And why paint something when you take a picture of it and be done with it?
True.
What do you think about photography? What's the nuances?
Because I never even thought about that, but that is true. I mean, the whole thing about how much time it takes to do a painting or a portrait, because it took me 2 hours to get that Ryan portrait done. And actually, after that one, it only took me 2 hours to do any other one. So, I mean, 2 hours is a decent amount of time, a decent amount of chunk of your space and time and effort and all kinds of other aspects of life that you could think of. But I mean, it is worth it if that's something that you want to master. Photography is something that I just picked up on a whim, pretty much. It wasn't something that I grew up saying I want to be a photographer or I want to start being a photographer later on in life when I was an adult. It was just something that came along randomly, pretty much, and I just figured out how to do it like I figured out how to do everything else. My favorite thing to do is probably scenery, because that's what I started off doing, like beaches, downtown, and then I taught myself how to do bokeh. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but like the images of like night lights that is all blurry, like little circles instead of it being focused. I taught myself how to do that because I thought it was cool. Because I didn't realize how much work it actually required. Because it just looks easy. It looks like an abstract painting, pretty much. Because it's just a bunch of little circles. So you're kind of like, oh, this will be easy or whatever. But then you get into it and it's like, no, this is not easy. It's more difficult than I anticipated. So you pretty much have to learn how to control your shutter. You have to do a few things at once, which is something I had to figure out. You have to hold your focus and pretty much go the opposite direction to get it out of focus. But you have to hold it so it does, because I have an auto type of camera. You can switch it on to manual or auto, but I usually have it on auto. So if you don't hold it, it'll go back to focus. And then once you snap it, it just looks like a regular photograph. So there was a process where I had to teach myself how to hold certain things before I actually shoot for it to look the way I want it to look. And then I've had experience with white balance because my first couple years at university, I worked as a camera person for sports. So the first thing that we had to do was white balance. We had someone with like a white towel, since we were doing it for basketball. There's towels everywhere. They would grab a white towel, go in the middle of the court, hold it up, and then I would have to zoom in and do my white balance for every game before every single event. And I used to do volleyball, men's and women's basketball. And then eventually I started doing minor league baseball when I got to Colorado. So that's something that I learned early on, something also that I didn't intend to do. I didn't set out to be a camera person. I was just going to school just to get my degree in communication. And I don't even remember how I got that job. Somebody just asked me if I wanted to do it, I guess, and I ended up doing it. So there were little things about photography that I learned early on that I didn't even think that would apply later in life, because I didn't think I would have my own camera. So it didn't matter. I was like, okay, that's a new skill that I have, awesome. But I wasn't thinking anything else of it that I would need it later. So.
Yeah, it's interesting how you pick up these skills.
Yes.
Different talents or these different things over the years, and they you can use them later on in life. Yes,
they accumulate, for sure.
Like I started a podcast in 2015, and then I recently I heard that I should start a podcast in general. Then, hey, I know what to do. I've done it all before, got the equipment, let's get started. But also I'm curious, you alluded to it as well, that you were self-taught with photography. Yes. You also said that you taught yourself how to read and write and do marketing. How do you go about self-teaching your things as fundamental as reading and writing? And two, how was the process of just learning these things? Was it just curiosity, or what was the drive behind it?
Apparently, when I was 3, my mother told me a story, and I still think this is hilarious, but she said when I was 3 years old, and I believe when I was 3, we were in South Florida at the time. She said that she witnessed me sitting at the kitchen table with a blank piece of paper and was looking at the refrigerator because I guess from preschool or daycare or whatever, I had something on the refrigerator with my name on it. So she sat there and witnessed me look at my name on the refrigerator, and I copied it down on that piece of paper in front of me at 3 years old. That's not something that she or my dad taught me to do. And then probably the next year when I was 4, and I actually started going to school, because I remember going to preschool and we had these little books. They were little, like, flimsy paper books that probably had like 5 or 6 pages in them. And the character was a monkey. So the books, all of them, were about little monkeys doing this or that. And then you had a few words on each page. So we learned how to read when we were 4. But apparently I had already started that process a year prior by myself. So, and that is something that my brothers didn't pick up. That's not something they did, or any of our cousins, or something that my parents picked up. So I'm not sure exactly why I did that or what prompted me to do it. It just seemed like something that naturally came to me even at 3 years old.
Interesting. And before we start to wrap this up, though, Charlin, tell me, what is it you're working on now? What are you doing now? What's happening?
At the moment, I'm pretty much just concentrating on marketing my website, because I just launched it on July 10th, and that wasn't even intentional, because I had been talking about launching a website for probably 6 or 7 years. but I was always afraid of the cost and how much effort it would take to get it done because I didn't want to pay anyone to do it. I had gone to school for web design also, so I know a little bit about coding and how to do it. To me, it's boring. I mean, it's easy, but it's boring. So I can do it. It's just I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get a hosting company and pay them. So they have their templates and all that, and I'll just have to add content. So that's what I ended up doing. But the main goal now is to get traffic and sales. So I've been working on all these ads, not paying a ton of money, but ads on Facebook, ads on Instagram. I printed some new business cards with my website on there. So I've been passing those around locally. I'm supposed to send some to Ohio and Florida. So pretty much right now it's advertising and trying to get word out that I have a site now.
Well, welcome to the wonderful world of e-commerce.
Yes.
So what is this website selling? What's it doing exactly?
Pretty much, well, it started off as just an online shop where I'm putting photographs that I've taken, whether it be macro, which is like the extreme close-ups of objects, which mostly, for me, are flowers. So I sell those. I sell portraits that I've done. I'm selling landscape photos that I've taken. What else is on there? Other like marketing photos that I've taken, like business, hands on a laptop type of images that my husband modeled for. So stuff like that is there.
So a lot of stock
and then
photos.
I have, what was that?
A lot of stock photos?
Yes. Because I actually have another site on 2020. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but that's all they do is stock photos. And I've sold quite a few to different websites and different companies and stuff of laptop photographs, whether it's just hands on a laptop or a checkout type situation with a credit card or whatever. So I've been doing that for maybe 3 years. And then that pretty much branched off like, I need to do this on my own. So that was pretty much the reason why I decided to do the website now. Because I was tired of the whole me getting a cut of my photographs on another website. It's like, no, I need to get the full amount for my work on my website. So that was pretty much what prompted me to do my own website.
Yeah, that seems only fair. You're the artist, you're the creator, you're 100%. My only quarrel is that by having another website such as 2020, you haven't got to bother with the domain or the advertising or the traffic and all the rest. You can just focus on what you do best, or what you love at the least, which is the photography, and then you share it on that site, and they worry about the payment processing and all the traffic and all the rest. So apart from just getting the full amount, what else drove you to build your own website?
Just because I wanted to have my own space online, to be able to put my story down while also selling what I want to sell. I wanted to have the complete freedom to do what I wanted to do with my content, with my work, on my terms. Because I have always been someone who tries to do as much as possible independently, because I never liked working for other people, because I just don't like being told what to do, what not to do, how to do things. It's like, what is the point of sitting here working for you if I have enough talent and skills to work for myself? So it was pretty much just me breaking away from everyone just to do my own thing, not to worry about having to pay this person or that person or have to split profits with a company or a website or whatever because you marketed my stuff or you were the one who did the work to sell it to this corporation or whatever. I just prefer for all of that to be on me. If I make the sale, great. If I don't, then it's still just all on me. I'm not depending on anyone else, and I can't blame anyone else. So sometimes it's stressful, yes, but it is also rewarding at the same time because once you make that sale, you know that it was just all you.
Yeah, it's the control. The way I see it is that you have 100% control of your actions and abilities. So you know that if a sale did not fall through, then the only way that you can prevent that in the future or increase that conversion rate in the future is something that you do and something that you have full control in. So that,
exactly.
So that way, it's all down to, it's a meritocracy. It's purely meritocracy. And that's the beautiful thing about that is it's all down to you. So you control the single source of all the success and the failures.
Yes, this is true. Because I don't even remember a day when I didn't try to make my own way. Because I remember when I was in school, and this was high school that I can remember right now anyway, teachers would always try to make me do things or make me go to the office to do this or do that. And I would just simply say, no, I'm not doing that. And I used to get in trouble sometimes because I simply did not have the will to do what other people told me to do. And I think that was part of the problem with my mother, too, when I was growing up, because she would try to tell me to do stuff, and I was just not trying to do it. So I have always been independent on the level of me just not trying to have anyone tell me what to do. I'm not sure if that is from my dad or if that's from somewhere else in our family tree, but I'm just not someone who can be pushed around. I'm not someone who can be told what to do or what not to do because it gets me in trouble. I have had a ridiculous amount of different jobs. I have been fired once in my life, which is a surprise because with this type of confidence or whatever you want to call it, you would expect me to be fired from every job. But no, I was just fired from one job. But still, it is something that I battle with. Not necessarily on a daily basis anymore because I work for myself. But before, when I was in school, having to do like all these assignments that other people assign and working for FedEx or anyone else at university, and they're always telling you what to do and what not to do. There were times when I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. But in order for me to get paid and to keep the job, I had to do that in order to stay employed, pretty much. But now that's not an issue. And especially because my husband has been so supportive with all of my dreams and aspirations. He has funded plenty of things that he probably doesn't even know that he has funded, like my business cards and my website, really. Because once he got out of the military, he signed on as a contractor. He's been doing that for the last year, and he makes 6 figures. So we went from making only about $35,000 to $40,000, which is crappy because that's what military members are paid, regardless of all the stuff that we have to go through when they put their lives on the line, and they don't get paid that much. So he went from 40 to over 6 figures. So that was a huge jump for both of us. And it wasn't like he just said, well, this is all for me. I was the one in the service. I was the one that went to war. I was the one that put my life on the line type of stuff. He is not a selfish type of person like that, because I think he realizes the sacrifices and the turmoil pretty much that I had to put up with him being in. So it's almost like an automatic thing that he is helping me out with my business and making sure that I thrive. So it's not just me. I have this awesome one-man team behind me, pushing me to be greater, and I'm pushing him to be greater, taking his classes and get his certs for different things so he can get better jobs and make more money. So we're pretty much a bad little team of two people.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I think that's a sign of a good marriage, a strong marriage. That's pretty cool. But Charlin, we must wrap this up now. So, what is the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
Right now, I am mostly on Instagram. So that's just Instagram.com, Charlin Janene, which is CharlinJanene. And then my link to my site is on there, so you can go directly to my website from there. And the link that's up there, go ahead.
And what is the website called? What's the link?
CharlinJanene.com. And then the link that I have up there now is to my online shop, which is just /online-shop. Because I had to think about that too. It's like everybody has /shop. So I was like, I'm not trying to be like everybody else. So I just had to be a little rebel on that and put online-shop. But yes, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And then I do have a phone number that is on my Instagram. You can press text. It'll go straight to my number. You can send messages. You can actually call that number also. And then on my website, there are a million different ways to get a hold of me. So Instagram and my personal website.
Well, that's pretty cool, Charlene. I wish you best of luck with that business, e-commerce. And remember, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you haven't already subscribed, you better subscribe. Better subscribe. And while you're also there, just click on the bell notification right next to the subscribe button for the latest uploads. How cool is that?
It's awesome.